Welcome to the Digital Amateur Television Experimenters Night. This is VK7OTC, the club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania. Amateur radio is a worldwide hobby that has many different aspects. Digital television is just one of the many modes and areas that are covered. Maybe you're interested in becoming involved in the DATV Experimenters Nights. You realise that you do not have to be a radio amateur or need any ATV equipment to participate anywhere in the world. Also participate in the night by coming up to the Queen's Domain clubrooms. Yes, right on top of the Queen's Domain in the heritage-listed Coast Wireless Station. You never know, we might get you in front of the camera or behind doing one of the many roles during the night. We get underway with our program on a Wednesday night from 7:30 p.m. local time. We'll see you soon. This is VK7 OTC.
The club station of the Radio and Electronics Association of Southern Tasmania with our DATV Experimenters Night, our Wednesday Experimenters Night. It's probably a better description. This is our portable mobile and OTA, so on the air, something on the air forum, and we've got a fantastic roll-up. We've got standing room only in the club rooms. Format is very much forum format. 5 to 10 minutes each person. We'll go around the room. That camera up there will follow, go to whoever's on, and I will hand this microphone to everyone. So, who would like to start?
I'm happy to start, then you can go around the table.
Thanks.
Okay, so if you would find the slide for me. So this is me operating at Lake Dulverton recently with the equipment that we have here. So this is our new Skoda. So we needed to develop a new mechanism for supporting our squid pole, which is here, which stands on.
Do you want me to? No?
Okay. It'll, okay, let's. There we go.
We'll just take Martin out.
Yeah. Okay. So there we go. That's how it stands, and there's a rod that supports it here. So this was our latest version of this mechanism. We call it. I call it going glamping. We're not going climbing up mountains or anything like that. We always take the car with us. So Martin's got somewhere comfortable to sit when I'm doing my operating. So that's the way we operate. That goes in the tow bar. We've got earlier versions of this. Okay, so that's a mobile whip loading coil and another earlier version. So you can see they've got more sophisticated as life has gone on. So that's how we mount the squid pole. So while we were developing this, we were searching through the stuff we had and found a letter from John Noonan, VK3IC. We'd met him at the WIA convention in Sydney, so that's some years ago. And when we met him, Peter VK3PF was there, and he had a mobile antenna for 2 meters. And so I said, oh, that'd be nice to have. And John said, I'll send you one. I thought he was going to send me one, but he sent me the coax and the connectors, but he didn't send me any dimensions. Huh. So at that point I was rather busy with several other things, so it went in a box. Fortunately, I bought Martin the RSGB handbook last year, and it has in it a vertical dipole for portable operation. So in searching through to do our new thing, we've now got a 2 meter. I should have brought a knife. Have you brought your knife?
You know, I've always got.
Okay. Yeah, so you can.
That's not a knife.
So we
right,
might.
it's bloody sharp.
So we started off with a 2 meter one, and then we found we got enough stuff for a 6 meter one also. So we now have a 2 meter antenna that, as you have a squid pole that stands up there, then you have a hook on the top of this that you can attach to the top of your squid pole, and there you have your 2 meter antenna, and the 6 meter one similarly. So now I've found out how to make one. I feel pretty competent at making 2 meter vertical antennas. So that's the story of our equipment.
I love it.
You've got 3 pictures, I think.
Ooh, hang on.
I think they're all pretty much the same, but they just show different angles. That's showing this in place,
Okay.
and the other one showing a nice shady swap
With the squid pole in the.
with the squid pole in the whatnot. Yep.
Okay.
So there you go. My story.
And a comfy seat and a table. I love it.
Yes. Well, this is glamping.
Hmm.
Yeah.
This is glamping nota. Glamping on the air.
Goater?
Goater. Glamping. Yeah. Floater. Floater. I like that. Fantastic.
Okay. So we go
Thank
around
you.
the
Who's
table.
next?
Alright, I will go through my sort of setup when I'm out portable or on out and around the field, or if I'm doing a field day, or lately I've been getting involved with the Tasmanian horse endurance ride with the checkpoints. So I'll be able to go through the sort of setup that I have. Not sure how it's going to go well on the camera, but I was at a checkpoint a couple of weekends ago when we did the Hamilton one, and I usually set the car up in a way where it's like a mobile portable command centre. I have shown the photo before, so I don't know if anyone... Oh, there we go. So towards here, probably about there, is where this J-pole antenna is. So I'm not sure about it. There we go. Which is fairly tall, and that mounts onto this pole here, and then I've got a bit of a concrete base that's light enough for me to carry in the car, to use that without having to dig a hole deep enough in the ground for it to support the pole. I can just wedge that in the concrete slab and put that down, and that holds it quite nicely. And as far as a decent base radio goes, I use the TYT MD 9600. It gets out really well, and the audio quality on that is really good, so it makes it really easy to do field day sort of stuff. And plus, with the handhelds on top as well, it really makes things nice and easy. When it comes to powering it, I do have a AGM battery at home that I tend to power that off. But to keep it nice and charged up, I use the solar panel. Keep the solar panel connected to the battery, so that way I don't run the risk of the battery going completely flat and then the radio just dying on me all of a sudden. Plus also too, I've got a inverter to plug additional devices in if the battery is capable of running it at the time. If it's not, then the inverter goes off at me, so which is all good. And I've also got a solar charger controller as well to monitor the power between the oh, you just said it, the solar thing to the battery. So that allows me to check to see if the voltage is too low or not. But if I if I forget to take this, then an amateur radio's best friend I tend to take with me is a multimeter, monitor the battery level and the voltage. Other than that, I believe that's it for me. Pass it around to the next person.
Thanks, Harry.
So Linda, I see your glamping and doing SOTA. The days of sitting on the cold, hard ground are long gone. So this is my little chair, and I love it. And it comes with me in my little backpack, and it weighs nearly nothing. But it's so much more fun doing an activation in comfort than it is.
Where'd you get it from?
We're civilised people. Oh, any camping shop.
Oh.
We'll have them.
And a condom.
And then as far as my gear goes, so I've got a little board that can sit on my knees. So that comes with me. My radio, it's only CW with my little mini paddles on the side. There we go. So yeah, so little paddle that I've got just with magnets that clips to the side of the radio. My little battery. One of the good things is it's just a small battery, but I think like I can do 4 or 5 activations just with the single charge, and it just keeps going and going and going. The main antenna, or the only antenna really that I use, is a end-fed half-wave. So this has got my little transformer that I built for it. So just a nice small transformer with traps. So I made some traps for it, also nice little ones, which gives me resonance on 30 meters as well. So this does 40, 30 and 20 with no tuner, which is good. And then I do all my logging on paper. So it's just a little waterproof paper book. I don't know, like people who can be in the middle of nowhere and use their phone or their tablet, I take my hat off to you, because I couldn't do that. That's crazy. Headphones. I was going to say something about the. Oh, that's right. So we were talking about tips and tricks. To demonstrate, I will. So this is my old transformer that I used to have before I built my mini one. And one of the things that I found was I just kept breaking the ends of the wire when I had it in there. So then I added this little knobble on there as a strain relief, so you can run your wire through with a little loop and then sort of put it on the end, and that made a big difference. So when I designed this, it comes with little strain relief, so it runs through around and plugs it in. So there's no tension on the connector itself. So that's been a boon, and that's basically all the gear that I take with me. But being a good Tasmanian, in my bag that goes with me every time, we always have the first aid kit and the PLB. So, and that rounds out my gear.
The polar fleece and the other bits and pieces are all
Now, Phil.
Well, SOTA's my thing as well. So I've only bought in three items though. This is my shack. Antenna is a Sotabeams linked dipole, resonant on 20 and 40. so I don't need an antenna, and it's fairly light. The coax is in there, everything's in there. Lance particularly wanted to see which squid pole I use, so I brought that along. It's another Sotabeams item. They refer to it as a tactical mini. I think tactical just means green, doesn't it?
Is that fiberglass or?
This is the fiberglass one.
Carbon fibre, okay.
There is a carbon 6, they call it, I think. Yeah, I thought, is carbon a good idea for a squid pole? Is that going to affect anything? So I ended up going for this one. I don't know. I'll probably buy the other one at some point. Certainly if it's lighter, I might. This is light, but
Certainly more expensive.
yeah.
When you paid off your mortgage.
I haven't looked at the price.
Well, no, they're exactly the same price.
Oh, are they?
Yeah.
Right. You're kidding me?
No,
Oh, okay.
which is why it's such a conundrum.
So this is a 6 metre pole. I originally had a Haverford 9 metre pole. As soon as I looked at it, the top section broke, so it got a bit shorter. But it was too long in my pack. Even squashed up, it was too long. So I was more interested in something that I could actually put in the side pocket of the pack and it would sit there. And that's my radio, FX4CR, made by the man in China. Yeah, I do like it. It's 20. Where's the camera? That way. I got it mainly for the small size and the fact that it does 20 watts on 80 through 10, 5 watts on 6 metres. The other thing was that, I don't know if anyone's ever seen these, but I use this as, it's a camera lens wrap, velcro on it that you get from Amazon, and I just sit it in that. It's not a hard case, but it sits inside my pack, so I figure it's lasted a year and I haven't broken anything.
Cool. Any questions for Phil, Lance, as we go through? Throw them in, please.
What sort of transformer lens?
That one there.
Or both?
So they were both 49 to 1. So it's for an end-fed half wave.
Little toroid, is it?
Yeah. Yeah. So it's just a itty bitty little toroid in there that's wound. But because it's QR, like it's only 5 watts, and so you don't need much of a core to, use. I mean, it's a tiny little thing with very thin magnet wire.
Same size as a trap, or a bit bigger than that?
Yeah, a tiny bit bigger, I think. But the traps are a different core. They're a powdered iron. Yeah.
Cool. We've just had a comment. The audio's a little bit low. That's a close speaking microphone. So when we go around, if you can sort of hold it a bit close, that'd be great. So it's clear, but it's low. Is the comment?
Okay, I might move up here so that I can be in the field of the camera. I've got a few pictures. I just brought a few pictures of things. I didn't actually bring any actual show and tell.
No, yours is a.
So most of my slides are more about if it works, it's not silly, because most of these things look a bit precarious and what have you. So this is my 23 centimetre handheld directly onto the antenna, strapped to a fence post in, I don't know, South Arm somewhere. That was just my title photo. Beautiful. Two types of portable operation. There's SOTA and then there's everything else. This is part of everything else. There's mains power, still portable. We're outside. Next.
That's a long extension cord.
Next. This is a quick presentation. Again, if it works, it's not silly. This is the same thing, except waterproof, somewhat. You put the lid on, it can rain a fair bit before it soaks through the wood. This worked for a whole weekend for RD contest. On the back of the ute there, exactly like that. Again, power cord, still portable, we're not at home.
Nice box.
Thank you, yes. Very expensive piece of equipment came in that box. Here we have one of my old 23 centimetre SOTA rigs, which I think came from 7ZAR, or at least the battery case and things did. And you don't really need to take something. You can always find some rocks or something to stick the mast up against, especially when you've got small aerials.
Where's the extension cord?
No, this is SOTA. So there's SOTA and there's everything else. This is SOTA. You can't take extension cords there.
You can try, but it's got to be very long.
Now again, if it works, it's not silly. When you need a bit of vertical elevation, there's plenty of flex in the roof of the car. You just need to chock it up with something, all right? And this is how I got into SOTA. Your fault, Justin. We don't need to dwell on that one. I just thought I'd put that in to stay you up. That is Mount Faulkner. Yes. And yes.
Be cold.
It was very cold, very cold.
The reason we were going up there was to drop generators off.
It was to do something. And you literally said to me, next time you're going up there, give me a ring. And I did. And I'm like, you sure you want to come? He's like, yeah, I'm keen. Okay. Right. Now, this is more about just making do with what you've got. This is a radio that I've done the bulk of my SOTA activations with. I bought this second-hand about 25 years ago. It's a Barrett, Australian-made commercial HF. And yeah, you can't really see on that photo, but it is a 550, yes. And on the right-hand side is my vertical antenna, which is an old Yaesu mobile on the top of a couple of pieces of 1 metre aluminium that just hooked together. So it ends up about 4 metres high. And there's a couple of counterpoises. You can't see them in the resolution we have on this projector. No. It's not always ideal when you go soldering. Another very, very cold day. I think that's Mount Hobbs, maybe. Or
No, that's not Mount Hobbs.
sorry? Oh, Tower Hill. Yeah, Tower Hill. Well spotted. Well spotted.
And fogged in.
Yeah. Yeah. Really pleasant day. But anyway, got the job done. You can put the antenna area there. I've got it stuck in some trees. You can see the aluminium is literally just jammed through the branches of the tree. You can always find something. I've never taken any guy ropes ever for an antenna. Just find something.
I've got an idea for that.
Velcro? Yep. Oh no, I didn't put the Velcro photo in. Ah, well, that might have been a Velcro photo. I don't know. The one on the left probably was. The one on the right, just jammed in between a piece of rock. Yeah, that might be tape actually. That was the early. I think that was my second activation. Wasn't very lightweight there. Now, the other thing that happens is when you go to SOTA activations and you look at the summit, sometimes you get there and there's like a restaurant and a major communications facility. It's like, oh, this is a bit awkward. So I tried activating it on 2 metres standing, in amongst all the people, but no one was listening on Simplex. So I went, you just have to remember that SOTA's 25 metres from the summit. So about well within the 25 limit, I found this little piece of bush right beside the car park. And if you're looking the other way, there's literally cars parked there. Anyway, got the antenna up, got the job done.
Lionel, who is KJ7OFH, comments, if it works, it's not silly. Words to live by.
Exactly. Exactly.
Where's that? Is that Black Mountain?
No, that's in South Australia. Yeah.
Mount Lofty.
That's a restaurant.
Oh, it is. It's like, and it's a big one too. It only looks small there, but it's huge.
Car park behind that.
Like maybe 150 car parks there. Yeah.
One of the few summits in South Australia.
Right. Now, eventually I decided I'd go a little bit lighter than the 550. Sometimes you forget a bit of gear. I had the pen, didn't have anything to write on. So I found a piece of bark. And then you just take a photo of the piece of bark and you can take it home with you without taking the bark. There's my log. I did. Well, something like that. That was my first activation with the little radio, the 818. I'm still getting used to no power. I'm not in love with it. 100 watts is so much easier to do SOTA with. And then sometimes you do places where there is nowhere to put a mast because it's really thick scrub. That's okay. Do it on 23 centimeters. Just hold the antenna. It's a little bit tricky logging. You had to put the antenna down and log each thing. It was a bit tricky that morning, but yeah. Don't know about that. Yeah. And just some random things of, just strap it to the car, find a way, do it anyway. That's a 2 metre one, and I suspect on the bottom of that, although it's not on the photo, is one of Tricky's little mounts. But The left-hand one's just tied to the back of the car. And then we've got a bit flasher. We've got a van. It was still yours then. Oh, actually, no, not sure where. Anders is here. It was his van. And you can see we've got a few antennas on there. And this is the introduction of, again, you don't have to spend a lot of money, but all the brackets and things on there are all 3D printed, thanks to KRJ, who reprinted and reprinted them after we went, oh yeah, we forgot about this, that doesn't actually fit because of this. Can you make this adjustment? Sure, print another one. So many hours of his have been consumed printing brackets until the prototype becomes production.
Now, can I just say this is a pump up
Yes.
in the van. So
I think I've got a picture of that.
that's the mask go.
I think it's about 8 or 9 metres.
Yeah.
It's a good height above the ground.
So all built into the van.
Mm.
This is
It's very flash. It was
flash.
ABC built this for us. There we go. One of it up. And again, you don't have to do crazy stuff. That's just made out of plywood in the middle of it. And this is a pooled set of radios between me and Richard.
So take us through what's on the mark.
You've got 6, well, in order 6 to 70, 23. That 23 doesn't exist anymore. We've got a new one on there. And then you can see a couple of panels on the top of the mast. You've got 2.4, 3.4, and on the ground will probably be 10 gigs out of the photo.
Nice.
So that's, again, not SOTA, not legal for SOTA.
Day two.
Always a nice day on the mountain.
What's your most essential item in
The heater. Without a doubt. Generator is out of screen.
And amateur's best friend.
That's it, heater. There we go. 3D printing up close. That's the latest. Handiwork from Ken. The 23 centimetre mount.
Physically, how big's that?
That antenna.
No,
It's about 380 by 380 by about 105 or something.
decent print.
Yeah.
And that's held up okay to exposure.
That one's brand new, but the other one's sure. Yep. Tips and tricks. Make everything so that it's as easy to put together and pull apart as possible. Everything is pre-wired. We even have some recycled, what I believe was probably Barrett auto-tune cable there. So we've got 4 DC cores and coax in the one cable there, so that it's all nice and neat. And and labelled, yeah. And another picture of operating. Oh, this is a different type of mobile operation. This is doing moon bounce, I think, because I can see Richard's big dish in the background, and I can see the stuff he's got on the screens there. So that's, and it looks like it's actually in the car park outside here.
One of our open days.
Yeah, I reckon probably. There we go. That's me.
Fantastic. Thank you, Murray. Thank you. Who's next? We're going around in a circle.
Go on, don't all speak at once.
Oh, Chad. I'll just bring this round the front.
And we've got the UK on board. So the UK is now watching the stream. So Andy, you're on camera.
This is only for the benefit of the camera. I don't really go out in the bush very much, and I have to admit that I didn't build this myself. I have to thank my little brother, who lives on the mainland. But I usually go travelling in my little camper van and use this. It's got a dual channel DM700 in it. Use one side for APRS and the other side for talking to people. It's got over voltage protection. In my van I've got 2 100 amp gel batteries, AGMs, AGM, and I run 2 whip antennas, one for the amateur rig and one for the CB. Keep listening on the highway. To the truckies mainly. When you get to the city you turn off. it's been pretty handy. I jump between vehicles. Sometimes I take it in my normal car, and as well as that, I take a ICOM 7000 because I usually travel on my own, and use a Fan Park multiband HF whip, which seems to work okay. That's basically about it. But just thought I'd show.
So the APRS is on 2 metres or 10 metres? Or
No, 2 metres.
2 metres.
Yep,
Okay.
yep.
So
Yeah.
The standard APRS frequency.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a GPS.
I've got a GPS dongle that I plug in. I've got external power connection, microphone connection, the 2 antenna feeds on this side here, and speakers on top, and the 700 head here, and the CB head sitting there.
All in a nice Pelican case. Very nice.
Yeah, yeah. So thanks, bro, if you're watching.
Fantastic. Thank you, Herman. Who's next?
You're next. I've got nothing to say.
Oh, Gary's next.
I'm here to learn.
Must be me then. Okay. Well, I'm really impressed with all these guys that have got radios in their lunch boxes, and you need to be watching Hayden so you can get the roll-up hat antenna to put under your hat. So
Yeah.
completely. Anyway, back in the day, that radio down the bottom there, that's 84 Kenwood 130. That was my complete station for a number of years, probably 20 years maybe. That was the thing. Put it in the cupboard at home and shut the door on it, and everybody's happy. Start it up and there's weird noises coming out of the cupboard, so then they're unhappy. So then you put it in the car. But anyway, the upshot of it is that was my whole station, and that was used a number of times on Jota. And as you can see, it's a field day station, something that you set up in it for a day or so or more. You're not going to go too far, struggle from the house to the car with it. But anyway, working at the bottom here, there's HF obviously, tuner, VHF there, and a VHF linear. Bit of Velcro. Bit of Velcro engineering there with the clock and the speaker. So that's pretty much put it in the car and strap it to the seat and hope you don't do any serious damage to the upholstery or whatever. But these days in the 4-wheel drive, just tie it in the back. But it's something that that you're not going to go too far with it. But it does the job. The antenna I normally use with it would be an 8040 dipole, full size one. More copper the better. So always thinking big. Always had a vehicle that carried ladders, so I had roof racks on all the time, and I could carry pipe and pretty much assemble everything up at reasonable heights. So the dipole really worked in its place. So after that, there was a few issues with interference on different places, and it was all a bit dated. So then we had the massive update here with the shack and the box. So that's how we're sort of flying at the moment.
Which is what's that ring?
897. Yaesu 897, and the other unit is that one there, which is quad bander. So it's in a little carry case, and a couple of batteries in the bottom, and it's just a matter of plugging in, and hopefully you get some noise, and away you go. It's just people talking on demand. So that's pretty handy, just to go out on a quick trip or a checkpoint or something for an activation or whatever, and you get.
We used that the other day to do some radio checks
We're getting another workout this weekend coming.
Doing very well.
So that's pretty much the stuff I'm running at the moment. I have got a 7300, but the last couple of times I've used it, I had a bit of an issue with just the sunlight shining on the screen, and where we were located at the time, it was just hard to get the screen to be clear. So that's a bit of a thing to think about. Squid pole, everybody has one. So that's, I basically use mine just to hold the wire up. I don't have an antenna that fits it at the moment. Tow bar, bracket. You can put aluminium tube down inside that if you're going to hold the beam up. And pretty expensive kit this. Plastic pipe, slides down over the base here. There's enough pipe sticking up at the top of that to slide the squid pole down in, and I use that either to hold up the end of a long wire just near the car so you're not going to hang yourself on it, or just a vertical wound around a bit of wire vertically around the squid pole, and just go through a tuner. There's cheap tuners around. Always like these ones that have got the option of a long wire and a balanced line on the back. That does the job. So that's pretty much my gear, some of it anyway. Distribution board for plugging in various bits and pieces, and that's probably about me looking around. Oh, one thing I just mentioned, guys that are just starting out, your coax is the most important thing on your job. The aerials might be a bit rubbery, but you've got to be able to get your signal to the antenna and back the other way. So you need to get yourself some crimp-on tools and use crimp-on connectors.
Or yell out, because there's plenty of people around here.
Yeah.
So they can bring them up on a Wednesday night.
Crimp-on's the way to fly if you're out in the bush. I mean, you can slam your door on a connector or something out in the bush, and you had it. So just chop it off, and you've got a new connector you can put on in 3 or 4 minutes. So yeah, I think I'm done. Oh, one antenna left. Squid pole, 6 metre flower pot. They're pretty handy. You can put them in a pipe, of course, but if you're just going to chuck that up, drop it from a tree branch or something. 2 metre one, 6 metre, whatever you like. It's all flexible. So that's probably me.
Fantastic.
Time's up.
Any questions?
Tick, tick.
Garry? All right. Across to Hayden.
Well, I've got a random bunch of stuff that I just grabbed out of the shed for all sorts of different things. What's in the box? That's right. So everyone's been showing off their squid poles.
Not the size of anything on that.
Hey, I didn't say that. So I've got a couple. I've been using the DX Commander pole. So this one's the Expedition pole. I broke the cap of the bottom of it in New Zealand. I actually had this sitting in a pole on top of a ski resort. It was just a random pole sitting on the side of the road, which they must have had a sign in at one point. And as I was lowering it, it must have collapsed the sections as I was lowering, and then broke the bottom of the cap out. So I had to replace it with a bit of PVC. So I used that. I've also got a Haverford pole, but Phil said that the one that he's got's got the thin. You've got the thin wall one at the top. I bought the thicker wall one. So, and that's a lot thicker, and I find that's good because it doesn't whip around as much, and you can use that for more sturdier, antennas that you need. Some portable stuff I use the Mad Dog Coil. So this is from Murray VK4KC. So this is an 80 meter coil. So the thing behind this is basically getting a whip like this, and this extends right out to like 7 meters long or something like that, telescopic whip. That screws into the top of the coil. And then you just adjust the collar up and down for whatever band that you're going to run. So 80 metres I think is extended all the way out 40 metres, 20 metres, and you just sort of tune it by adjusting your coil up and down and also the length of your telescopic bit. He's also got, so this is the 80 metre version, he's also got just a 40 metre version, which is a lot shorter. And you just put in your coax in there, you've got your tap off point there, and I've just got some counterpoise radials, which just are all a bunch of wire just coiled up, and they just go into the bottom there. So the other good thing about this is you can unscrew the bottom. So this usually goes into a tripod, or I've got a mag base. So you can actually screw that onto a mag base, and if I could do it one-handed, it'd be good. So you can screw it onto a mag base, and then you can just run it off the top of the car. I don't think that's screwing on, but you know what I mean. Now it's stuck to that. No, it's not for mobile operation. It's for stationary, but it's just a way of supporting the antenna when you're operating.
You still need the counterpoise if it's on your roof?
Yeah. There's no electrical connection between there. So, I mean, it probably does use the ground plane of the top of the roof, but the ground plane is not big enough for HF, so just plug it in there. Everyone's owned the flower pots, so there's my flower pot. Again, another one for 6 metres, so I just string that up on a telescopic pole and just cable tie it or tape it just to hold it there. So I got a one for 10 metres as well, and you can build them for pretty much, you know, a lot of HF bands, maybe down to 20 metres or something. I got one of these. This is powerpole distribution from Waverley Amateur Radio Club. So you can buy this as a kit and you can put it together, and this is really good for plugging in all sorts of stuff. So when we're doing contests, I use this. When we're doing field days, I use this, and it just makes things easier than connecting it all through the battery. No. Yeah. Put the voltmeter in there, but they've also now got a USB outlet on it. Yep. 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 Well, I fuse both. I mean, it's got fuses there for all of your outlets, but I also fuse the input too. So you can put a fuse on there too if you want. Most of my leads have 2 fuses. Yeah.
I used one of those in my shack, and mine came with the USB module. Yep. And it was as noisy as an HF, and so it went. I was in a drawer somewhere.
This is the HF antenna. This is the HF antenna that I mostly use. This is the KM4 ACK end-fed half wave. So just a end-fed half wave, 49 to 1 on there, and it's just on this winder and just sits in the pouch. So yeah, put that on the top of the telescopic pole or the bottom of the telescopic pole, inverted L, all sorts of configurations. This is the battery that I run for when I'm running the 7300. So this is a LiFePO4 battery, 30 amp hour, a Wallaby. You can't get those off eBay anymore. They're sold out. So they were really cheap compared to some of the other ones, because JCar have the 50, but the 50 is a lot bigger. The 30's just that much smaller, and you'll run a 7300 all day off that. So so that works well. For things such as the Mad Dog Coil, you do have to tune it, obviously. So I've got a Rigexpert. This is just the Stick 500, which is a little ink display on there as well, and you can do sweeps and stuff on that. So that's good, because it's just a little portable pocket thing. It's handy if you don't have a radio with an SWR meter in it, or you don't have an analyzer. Well, that is an analyzer, but yeah. This thing I think is essential, that everyone should have one of these. This I bought years ago, and it was well worth the investment. It's a connector kit for PL259, TNC, SMA, N connector. What are those ones? FME and BNC. And the way this operates, if you haven't seen it, is you get the middle portions of the connector, and you can screw them into one into the other, and you can create whatever connectors you want. And obviously these are only for temporary, don't you leave these in your coax line. But there's been so many times where I've just needed a connector real quickly, and rather than searching and trying to find it in the shack or taking it with me, and just rather than going, oh, I forgot the BNC connector, I can make it up. And these ones were quite expensive because they're the silver plated ones from RF Parts in the US, but you can still get them off eBay. You can get the nickel plated ones, which are just as good. So, and comes in that pouch. And I mean, they might look expensive. I think they're like $150 or $170, but honestly, the amount of times I've used it, it's paid off, definitely. And then the last thing was this. It's a bit hard to unravel, but can you hold that? It's a bit hard to unravel. This is just my arrow antenna, which is mainly built as a satellite antenna, and it's all in a roll-up pouch. So you put it together. It probably takes like 2 minutes to put together, and all goes back into this pouch. But it's really handy for SOTA. If you want a directional beam antenna, that can be quite unwieldy to bring up on top of a mountain and in the backpack, and you can't really pack it away. Whereas this, it all folds up into this pack, and I carried this to the top of Mount Moriah and operated from up there because I thought it's a bit far out, might not be able to get back into Hobart very well. But yeah, you get three elements on 2 meters and 5 elements on 70 centimeters, I think. So yeah, and then you can use it for satellites as well. So there's a diplexer in the built into the handle, so you just plug it straight into your radio and away you go. So yeah, I mean, they're not cheap, but they're a pretty cool little thing. So yeah.
So when you were doing Mount Moriah, how much gear were you carrying?
I only carried this and my 705. Yep. So I had 5 watts. I think I've got a little 7 amp hour version of that. So a little acid, the small little seal lead acids. So I brought that with me just in case I needed 10 watts. But yeah, I just carried this on my my day pack, and just a short length of coax, and that was it. I didn't bring HF with me. I just thought I'd get enough 2 meter contacts, which I did. So yeah.
Cool. Questions for Hayden? Okay. Who's next?
How much was the battery? That one, I'm trying to remember. It wasn't that expensive. I think it was like $170 or 100 I think it was about 170. It was much cheaper. It was much cheaper than J-Car when I bought it, but they're all out of stock. The last time I checked, it's probably a month and a half ago I checked, and they were all out of stock. But yeah. Yep.
All right. Anybody? I'll do the tail end Charlie thing here. So SOTA 705 in a 3D printed case. So it's when I got the 705, I was absolutely petrified about the screen and throwing it into my backpack. So there was a guy in Sweden who came up with a 3D printed case for the 705s, which I got printed, and so really happy with the result. And thank you to Ron, who printed the VK7TW on the front, because it just had IC-705 on there. Like a lot of others, link dipole, 8 bands from 6 meters to 40. Using and in fact using the same foam board as Lance. So if you ever get a hold of the foam board, keep it, because it's fantastic stuff. And it uses, shout out to Warren VK7 Whiskey November, who put me on to the radio controlled bullet connectors, which are gold plated. I had alligator clips on there, and alligator clips rust real quick. Real quick. All of the microphones and keys and other bits and pieces. The one thing that's in there is the Bluetooth. I lashed out and bought the Bluetooth headset for this thing, the ICOM Bluetooth headset, and I ummed and ahed as to whether I was going to spend the money. and the first time I used it, it was really, really windy up on Mount Wellington, and it was fantastic. Because one of the things with the Bluetooth headset is if you can clip it on here, that's your microphone, you put your earphones in, and you are literally just pushing the push to talk on your lapel, which means you've got the other hand for logging. So it actually, I went, yeah, actually this was probably worth it. This is the 9-volt battery that Hayden was talking about. This is the 7 amp hour LiFePO. I'll hand this around because I came up with a little Anderson connector double adapter. I use Haverford, and everybody's saying this one's also, the top's broken on it. The bottom's broken on it as well, which is why there's 100-mile-an-hour tape on the bottom, because one of the things about these poles is they have no strength in the sideways, and if you happen to not have the inside in there and you step on it, you will crush it. You will absolutely crush it, and real quick. So this has been crushed, it's been taped up, and I don't put the last segment up ever. The last segment is always in there. I use Velcro ties. They are strategically aligned for my backpack. So there are 2 ties on the side of the backpack that they tie onto. They also enable me to tie it to a tree or a trig point or whatever. One of the things I don't think anyone's mentioned, one of the things you do is you come up with a way of connecting your top to the squid pole, because when you're walking along through trees or whatever else, the first thing you lose is the cap. And then when you lean over with your whole squid pole goes out in front of you, which can be a little disconcerting when it happens.
Especially if there's walkers coming the other way.
Oh, correct. Yeah. Poke them in the eye or something. The other thing you do with a squid pole is that cap on the bottom. That thread is crap. I actually glue that cap on because the first time if you happen to have this down into a rock crevice somewhere, and your squid pole falls for whatever reason, it'll push the cap off. And if that cap is down in a crevice or somewhere, forget it. Your gap's gone. So that's a bit of a hint. Now, the other one, if you've been watching the DATV nights, this is the end-fed half-wave, same as this is Ben's design. So VK7BENs. So that's got the transformer, the 64 1 to 64. This one I put ends on so you can run it on just a sloper, but you can also, there's a tag on here to run an inverted L as well. That's the counterpoise wire, is the red wire on the side. Now, very quickly, you want to run digital. SOTA. This is a GPD Micro PC. This is a quad-core PC, so it's not an insignificantly powered machine. And have a look on the back. And tell me what is strange about the back of the PC. That runs for about 8 hours on its battery inside, so it's not bad. It's not a touch screen. It is. It's running Windows. Could run Linux. Running Windows. It lasts about 8 hours. It's got WSJT on there and some other bits and pieces. I have tried to use that for logging, but can I just say I prefer to write it down with a pencil and a piece of paper. I have tried logging on that and just given up because it's as you can see the keyboard's pretty small. That's digital. The other thing with the 705, I can plug directly into that with a USB. I'll do a plug for DigiRig. For DigiRig interfaces, these are fantastic, and they've just come out with a mini one, which is even smaller than this. This is for 807, 807, 897, 857, etc. So that plugs in USB on one side and then the accessory and data port on the other. So that's really good. Now, when I go portable, and I'm going to finish off with a really short little video. When I go portable, when I'm in the van, this is the 50 amp version. I've come up with a little arrangement. It's got a voltmeter on it. It's got some of my things just have banana plugs on that I plug in, but also there's Anderson connectors on there. So that, and I've got two of these. The arrangement with the antenna is I've got a 9-meter pole in three 3-meter segments. That's what goes next to the van, and now I've got some pegs that I plug in there. Thank you very much to Richard. Shout out to Richard, who welded that up for me. And then the roof rack, there's a little bracket on here, bolts onto the roof rack, and that bolts into the pole. So it gives me some stability. So, very quickly, I just want to show you, this is a field day. Oh, come on. This is, no, that's not, that is. So this is the 2020 field day. So this is after or before COVID, one or the other. This is at Pirates Bay, down at Eagle Hawk Neck. Norfolk Point, sorry, Tirana, just a bit further on. So I'm looking towards Hobart there. Okay, let's just zoom. Oh, here we go. So this is the van. This is the pole. I sit, my operating position is here, and I reach out the window and use the Armstrong method to turn the pole. There is 6, 2 and 70 Yagis up the pole. That's a 10 gig dish. And then there is also a 23 centimeter Yagi as well. This is the operating position in the van. Got a little table that I use. Zave sat at the table last Equine endurance event, so he knows it very well. I was using a login computer, 23 centimeters and an 847, and that's the 10 gig arrangement there. So, so that's a field day. That's a typical field day setup for myself. I'm not quite as well appointed as Murray's field day van.
I don't know, I was just looking at those seats thinking we can improve.
They are comfortable. They are comfortable. Anyway, well, oh, there we go. It was June. It was June 2020. So it was the winter. It was the winter field day. So anyway, that's it for me.
Can you rewind to your antennas?
Yeah.
What keeps the pole vertical?
Okay, this and this in the ground. Now I do have a guying arrangement if it is really, really windy up the top. There's a little triangular bit of aluminium that I can put in the top and actually put some guy wires in there. I've never actually done it, but if it was really windy, you'd probably want to guy it, because having that flapping around might be a bit...
And the pole rotates in that bracket you held.
And I use the Armstrong method. I literally reach out of the window and turn the pole. And one of the things I did, Murray will laugh at this. It was there. So if I go from there and I stop at the relevant point, let me zoom up and I'll just pause. Come on, look up, Justin. There we go. They are Y7, so standard Y7, 6 metres, 2 metres, 70 centimetres. Now, I went to a field day, put all this up, and I was going, and I went, that's a bit weird. 6 metres. I'm just not getting the same sort of signal that I'm getting on 2. And I went out and looked up, and I had this round the other way to these two. So I had one in one direction and the others in the other direction, which, yeah, okay, righto.
So Justin, when you're transporting those, do you take all the elements off the booms and separate the booms into two pieces?
The only one I do is the 6 metre, because they are, you're talking about 4 or 5 metres. They all come off. They're all screwed on with wing nuts. This one is the only one I put on the roof. This one fits inside, and that folded up fits inside. So that's the only one I put on the roof, because that boom is 6 metres long. So, anyway,
Part two of this
that's me.
question then is, so with respect to when you're running and you're there for a day,
Yep.
do you have enough life in your PowerTech battery to keep you going for the day?
2 of these,
Yeah.
I never get to use the second battery. I charge, this is like 13.5 volts, and it'll go down to probably 12.9. That's probably because I haven't charged it from the last field day. And I use, in the last field day, I used an 897, actually same as Garry. And the 897 that I've got in the battery compartment, the battery compartment has a DigiRig interface installed in it, double-sided sticky taped into it, so I can run the digital modes as well. And I can run on that the 100 watts from it. So at the John Moyle, I was using this antenna, which is probably a bit dodgy because there's no common mode choke on this. So I was probably transmitting all the way back to the antenna. But anyway, I'm transmitting stuff, so I'm happy about that.
Your portable computer's got a real comport on the back.
He gets the prize. It's got.
It was VGA from a distance.
No.
It's
It's
Where
got.
did you get those from?
They're online. Go to GPD.
Can you still buy?
Yeah, well and truly. And in fact, I think you can buy an even smaller one. But it is a full quad core PC. It's a real comport. No, it's a real comport. It's a UART. It's not just a reverse engineered USB. So it comes up in the device driver as a comport, not a USB driven comport. So anyway, tech's going into data centers and whatever else, needing to configure things. That's what it's there for. Anyway, okay. Any final comments? Any questions? Anything else? Did people find that useful? Did people take some stuff away? Do we want others on other topics? Is the question. Garry.
I'll just make a comment that people that are starting out in this sort of deals, I'll just say for people that are just starting out in this sort of deal and there's sort of wondering how much money they're going to throw at it, there's plenty of old TV antennas and stuff around that you can get from the tip shop for basically nothing. That have got a lot of aluminium in, and you get the swivelling plastic bits because happy customers buy their TV antenna in a box and have to swing all the elements out. So there's all the fittings there for folding up an antenna that you can get from the tip shop and for little dollars. Just a matter of cutting the tubing down to suit 2 metres or 70 or whatever. So that was just the only thing I'd comment on it at the moment. Thanks.
Channel 5A, in South Australia, Channel 5A Yagi, that it took very little to get it onto 2 metres, and they produced thousands of them. So yeah, in fact I might even have one still at home that I brought back from South Australia. Well, I don't quite know why I did that, but anyway. Cool. Another forum. What would we like to do? We're all ears.
Can
Mm.
life lessons are very valuable.
If
MacGyvering ham radio.
Well, we could. That's a potential talk for the conference.
I thought that we had we were discussing like this was sort of an introduction to. This is sort of like an introduction to portable and field day and mobile operations, but I think we were looking at. We got quite a few newcomers coming through, so we were going to do like a newcomers forum, weren't we? Where it was basically come in and no questions, no dumb questions. You can ask anything you want about anything. So that was one idea. But if you had any other ideas of something that you'd like to do similar to this kind of format, where it's just round table and people can throw out what they think, then let us know. Is there anything that comes off the top of your head now, or?
Well, if you're getting a lot of newcomers coming through, the basic thing would be how to set up a station easily.
Yep.
And make it reliable and get some sort of performance.
Yep.
Yep.
Because that, well, depending on what stage they're at, that might be the very next thing that they get to after coming from the practical with the assessment. So that'll help. Yep.
Can I just also say, when you have a look at my setup in the van, you have a look at Murray's setup, you go, wow, like this is just way beyond my ability or whatever. In those cases, that is years of getting to that point. I have to thank Rex, because it was one of Rex's Yagi workshops where I built those Yagis. So it was the 23 centimetre workshops, and in usual style I said, no, I don't want to build 23 centimetre ones, I want to build 2 and 70 ones. So Rex helped with the design, etc. So yeah, you build that up, and then you put it together, you learn. It's not an insignificant amount of work to put that up. I've got little jigs to sit there and make sure that it sits all the Yagis off the ground and all of that, and that was learning, because you couldn't sit them on the ground. So it was just, you live and learn. Well, and truly. And try it. If it works, it's not silly. I think our American viewer line will love that. So, words to live by.
What soda summits you bark on? I'm gonna go find it.
Your first soda summit was Colin's cap, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. Well. Yeah. I'd been to SOTA summits before, but I hadn't activated. So I was fixing the repeater one day at Grey Mountain, and I think that was probably the first SOTA activation I'd been on, which was Murray had the Barrett set up there and had the squid pole up on the trig point and was operating, and I was fixing the repeater.
I nearly put a picture of that up because we found a bit of stick in the bush that we tied to the trig point to get the
Yeah.
fire,
But the first one was the first real one was the Collins cap one, which was the last one of the last what do you call them? Summits out in the Wellington Park that I hadn't done, the main peaks out in the Wellington Park. So I'd walked all the others previous, and I'd never done any SOTA summits on them, so I could have got so many points. So that was the first one. But a couple of learnings, I suppose, with SOTA is that you do have to be careful when you go by yourself, especially if you go in summer, because of, especially up there, snakes. And if you hurt yourself as well, you want someone else to be with you. Plus, it's more fun if you've got someone to walk with you. So that's probably a major learning. We had a good day that day. We had a couple of visitors visit us up on top. They were cruising by and they said, "What's going on here?" And we said, "Oh, SOTA," and we explained it to them. There's a guy somewhere, and I need to try and find it. He's got like a business card. He got sick and tired of people saying to him, "Oh, what are you doing?" So what he does now is he's got everything printed out on a small business card with websites and links and everything, and he just goes, "Oh, this is what I'm up to," and they're like, "Oh, this is cool. Oh, I might check that out." So that might be an idea. I've got to try and find it. It's online somewhere, and you can download the template and change it and stuff. So that's a good idea. Because there's a lot of people that do like geocaching, and they do walking.
There is a geocache. On most accessible summits, certainly Collins Cap, Collins Bonnet, Trestle, etc., all have geocaches on them.
And there's a lot of people that do peak bagging as well with the Ables
Well and truly.
stuff as well.
So
They might be interested in radio, or might want to back up if they're out in the middle of nowhere.
well and truly.
A bit like Stuart, going out in the middle. Stuart's a machine.
He is an absolute machine. If you haven't seen on Discord right at the moment, he posted his. He did Barn Bluff, Cradle Mountain, and Mount Campbell in a day. He did Mount Campbell in the dark, which is nothing because he did Mount Ossa in the dark as well, and Mount Pelican West in the dark at 2 o'clock in the morning by himself. Now, first rule of thumb when you bushwalk, don't bushwalk alone. Oh, he's probably with his son. Yeah. I just wanted to mention, you reminded me, Trig Point. I have a hoochie. Now, a hoochie is just a canvas, in this case ripstop nylon with some eyelets on it that you can hang over everything. This one's specifically designed to go over the lower layer of a trig point to give you a little tent in a trig point. And I've used it a couple of times when you've been in cloud, because anyone who's been in cloud, you don't think you're getting wet, but then you go, "Oh, I'm getting wet." It's too late, you're wet.
That goes inside the lower struts.
In the lower struts, well and truly, in that square.
Yeah.
So that's worth. I love the fact that you had a first aid kit with you. It's my first aid kit. That does have snake bite bandages in it as well. Toilet paper, sort of essential. And your little survival kit, which is, there is a compass in here, there's matches, there's a flint, there is spare batteries for your GPS, there's all sorts of bits and pieces in there. Oh, and the soda flag.
Put that on top of the squid pole.
Yep, that fits very nicely on the and through the squid pole. So good talking point too.
And noting all the plastic bag, waterproof plastic bag.
Oh well, everything's in a waterproof bag.
The other thing, obviously, that was talking all about SOTA as well, but the other program, POTA and VKFF and WWFF, for those that don't want to go climbing mountains, that's a bit like Linda. That's what you do. So if you don't want to do that, that's a good program that everyone gets involved in. Parks and Peaks, go to that website. That's got all of the information on it. And one of the things that we thought about doing, which we haven't done yet, but maybe when the weather gets a little bit better, is we'll have like a bit of a parks day where we'll pick a park somewhere, and then we'll set up the club station and activate the club station at a park, so everyone can come along, and we'll set up, the radios and the antennas and everything, and everyone can have a bit of a go and put out some numbers and work some stations. So we'll do that to get a bit of a feel if you haven't done parks before, and then we can get some more people involved in that, because there's lots around Hobart that haven't been activated or get rarely activated. So and IOTA, you might want to talk about that.
Yeah. I posted on Discord, Grant Willis, who is the VK coordinator for Islands on the Air, is looking for activators over the next year to activate Tasmania, but also any of the other islands. And there's a couple of, there's about 4 or 5 IOTA numbers, which take into account the main Tasmanian island, then takes into account Flinders and Deal and Cape Barren and those sort of islands, and then there's King and there's a couple of others, and there's Bruni and a few others. So if well and truly, well, actually it's really bizarre because there's these. Part of it is the little islands that are just around Matsyka, and I'm thinking people aren't going to go to Matsyka, and they're definitely not going to go to those little islands that are around Matsyka. But anyway, someone I think mapped it without knowing the Grant Willis. So I posted all the details. Contact him if you want to activate IOTA, and it is just literally a station in Tasmania who is giving out IOTA numbers to anybody who contacts them, and they'll do the advertising, so they'll get the word out, and because there's lots of people around the world who are looking for IOTA numbers and IOTA contacts.
You can set up in your car, you can do anything.
Well and truly, there's no restrictions, so you can operate from home if you really want to as on IOTA mainland. So yeah,
How close to the island do you have to be?
yeah, looking for bookings. So
How close to the island do you have to be?
On it.
no, you have to be on it.
Like water 50 metres up in the boat.
That's a question for Grant. I don't know. If you're floating, probably not. Mm.
Straight up the beach.
But see, Shooting Island. No, because I've been at the end of Frasnay looking at Shooting Island, going, how do I get there? Oh, correct. Because it's the 60th anniversary of IOTA, so it is VI 60 IOTA, I think. It's something. Yeah. So, he's looking for activators of that call sign for the next. I don't think it's quite a year. It's just a little bit less than a year. It's something like that. But anyway, have a look on the Discord channel. If you want any information, let me know. So.
There's the other island in the middle of that plain, Wide Road, and we had a station set up in the 80s, I think it was, and you'd go out on a boat and just jump on the boat and side of the go up the top. We had animal police with impression of the logging for about maybe 2 years. So you can get those, we knew somebody with a dinghy was going to take you out there. Okay. And hang around for the time you're activated the order. So that you can stay overnight, but there's no guarantee you're going to get picked up again for a while.
Okay. All right.
Not all islands are an individual IOTA number. They're mainly groups of islands count as one number. So, yeah, Tasmania is 06, Oceania 06, but Brunei is something, and I think there's a few other islands around there that count in the same number. So you got to look them up in the IOTA book. It's on the net somewhere.
Thanks, mate. Any final comments?
There's a few people mentioned that they use paper logs for their SOTA and such like. I use VK Portalog, and I find that very useful. It has a number of uses because you've got your log there that you can automatically then load to your home computer for your log. You can send it off to be recording your VKFF activity, and most importantly, it brings up the name of whoever you're talking to. So you can sound like you know everybody on the air because it brings up the name, and I find that very companionable. So just a plug for VK Portalog.
There is another one that I took up. Just speaking of electronic logging, there is another one that I've heard of called HAMRS, HAMRS. That's available on iPhone and I think Android as well as Windows PC. And that basically allows you to electronically log, and it will also electronically search that call sign as well. So say if I put Justin in VK7TW, it will actually come up with the name of that person as well. So when I go to log it, those details are already there. I don't need to worry about grabbing a name or their location or whatever, because it's already picked it up there. So another good logging software as well.
All right. If there isn't any other comments, we'll wrap it up at that. And thanks for coming along, and thanks for sharing. Hope you got something from it. All right. Cheers.